Good morning and happy Monday. I could not be more excited for today's event because we're going to have a special guest. I can hear the birds chirping. Spring is in the air on the East Coast. And look, things are all going to get better for everybody. You want to know why? Because you keep showing up here every single day. So I just want to remind everyone, the best thing you can do for yourself each day is take one simple action. I see my buddy Bill D'Ambrosio here. It's great to meet you in Westchester. I look forward to seeing a lot of you in Boca and Tampa. We'll be there Wednesday and Thursday. We're headed to DC, Boston, Denver, Texas, SoCal, San Diego, to name a few places. So we'll be seeing a lot of you in person. So if we are coming to your city, please come in and say hello. I'd like to have my Zoom friends, as they say, come to life. Wayne, I love that you have our shirt on. So let me introduce you our special guest today, a dear close friend of mine. I would say friend first, client second, Gretchen Coley. And can we spotlight Gretchen? Hey, Gretchen, how are you? We got to unmute you. Hold on. There we go.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Happy Monday. So Gretchen's normally sitting in a room with her whole team. So I imagine they're somewhere else watching. And, you know, as we talk about,
they're out there.
they're out there. As we talk about client events, one, we have a playbook for you. Two, we have more deliverables. But, you know, learning from reality is probably my favorite compass entrepreneurial principle. And Gretchen runs an incredible business. And I would deem her one of the event queens of America because she really uses events, whether it's launching new developments, client dinners, food trucks, client appreciation parties. Her and her team do this at such a high level. So we figured, you know, in a collaborate without ego concept, she's willing to open up and really share her playbook with you of how she plans for events, how she launches events, what really the outcomes are. And look, the goal is to find one simple thing you could do, right? We don't need to become event masters. You don't learn how to run in a day. First, you learn how to crawl, then you learn how to fall on your face walking, and then you kind of figure out how to stumble a little bit. It's the same thing with events. So Gretchen, kind of let's start with the end in mind. What success has having client events brought your business?
Well, I mean, gosh, it's really hard to quantify that because there's so many different areas that it comes from. So, you know, we feel like being in front of our clients just really helps us deepen the relationship. We get referral after referral from the clients that are engaged with our team. And you know, for every event, we try to get them to invite their friends or someone that we don't know. So, you know, we pick up a lot of business from it. I don't have an actual number to tell you because, you know, it's like I said, it's hard to quantify, but, you know, we love getting knee to knee with our people. Like it's something that our entire team enjoys and I think our clients really like it as well. And it takes the relationship from just a business relationship to more of a friendship. And we're the first people that come to mind when they think about buying or selling, or any of their friends think about buying or selling.
Well, I think you said the most important thing first, right? It doesn't have to be quantifiable, but you know the outcome is there. And look, I would say the best part about agents is they are business people. The worst part about agents is they try to be too much business people and they lose the word people, meaning real estate math, I do this, I get X, it's an ROI. And there's certain in relationship building, there's not necessarily a dollar for time ROI and everything, but for you, it's more of a long-term relationship strategy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you started doing events, right, when you were just solo, where did you get started and what's like the lowest hanging fruit, would you say, for people just to get started with this?
Well, I think if I had it to do over, I made a lot of mistakes, number one, and my team is probably out there giggling because they think I'm going to have to talk about planning and execution of event, and they know that those are not my strong suits. I say, hey, I have this idea. Let's go figure this out. But in the beginning, when our team was small, you know, you could do something as small as just an intimate dinner and invite, you know, your clients out and have them all come together and get to meet each other. And I think the second thing that's really, really important about events, and I'm sure we're going to hit on this, Chirag, is the connections that your clients make with each other, right? It's, making sure you've got the right people in the room, even if it's a super small event, like just a dinner, or having a few clients meet you for a happy hour, or going to a wine tasting or something of that sort. Making sure that the right people are there who need to know each other, and they end up creating these relationships that would never have happened had you not been the magic that put all those people in the room together. So
So
I
I
would start small. And we started small. I would start with something where you could get 5, 10, 15 people to make it manageable, where one person can totally do it. And whoever shows up, shows up. A big piece of events is the invitation, and people knowing that you are thinking of them. So invite more than you think, only half will show up, and make sure that you're following up on the back end of that, so that they know that this is, that they're special to be chosen.
All right, we'll get into like the details of follow-up invitation, what they look like, and some of those fun things. I have a lot of thoughts around that too. But it's funny you say this, right? Because great minds think alike. And as I was typing up last night the notes for this, one of the things that I said is interesting about client lunches and dinners is your ability to connect people that see value from knowing each other, right? And in a world of relationships, I call that social capital. Right.
Absolutely.
When you have social capital that you can start putting people to look, Gretchen's taking notes. So when you
I like that word, social capital.
yeah, it is, right? Like one of the, I'll give you one of my Shragisms right here. It says one of the things our clients enjoy most with us is the social capital they get out of our network. And what that means to you is, look, as a fellow business owner and entrepreneur, we're always looking for purposeful connections to make to help you further your mission and your goals through the people we know. So, right, buy a home with us, you get social capital and you get access to our whole network community. And we're always looking to connect people. Sometimes we connect people for coffees, lunches, dinners. Sometimes we go, sometimes we don't go. But based on our social capital and our relationships, when we say two people should meet each other, they generally do. Same thing I do, right? I have social capital with all of you. So social capital is really important networking. Now let's get into the invitations, right? Because that's really where it all starts. Now explain to them the difference of sending a really nice invitation versus like a paperless post.
Um, well, there's a lot of thoughts on it. I always pay more attention to a printed invitation. If somebody takes the time to print something that's beautiful and mails it to me, I'm definitely going to consider that event above all others, because let's face it, we all get invited to several events a week, right? We can't possibly do them, but a well thought out, beautiful paper invitation is my favorite and my invite of choice. We certainly do use Eventbrite. We use paperless post. We do all of those things. It really just is event specific. But the printed invitation is money.
So you send a printed invitation, and certain phrases that I suggest people use is like, we would like to personally invite you, and when you start saying, I'd like to personally invite you, and you send like a really nice card, it just shows up differently, right? Everyone wants to feel special, unique, catered to. So if you look at this systematically, you can send a handwritten, not handwritten, but you could send like a nice printed card, and they're not expensive to make at this point, correct?
No.
So handwritten card, I always say handwritten, but printed cards. Now, after you send a printed card, do you ever follow up with an email, text, or phone call? What do you do?
Absolutely. We do all of the above. So typically we will send an invite, and then we follow up with personal phone calls. We'll either have myself or other agents on our team or our ISA department make those phone calls for us. But typically the best response we get is from the person who has the relationship on the team reaching out and saying, hey, I just wanted to check in to make sure you got the invitation. I wanted to kind of give you a few details and let you know how important it is, or how much we would want to see you at this event. And here's what you're going to get out of it. And then we follow up with email and text reminders, in the week and the days before, to make sure that it's on their radar. People will say yes a couple weeks out, and then their plans change. And so we really like all of those touches. And it does make people feel really special. And that is the big piece of events that I find so many people take for granted, is the invitation process is where your capital is built. Most people are not coming to your event. Most people don't have time to do that. They've got families and lives, but them knowing how much you care is instant street cred, and you're going to be the first person that comes up when they think about real estate.
It's extending a relationship. And look, I think the important part is for attendance. People live by their calendars. So if you don't send a Google Calendar invite and they lock the date in, they're going to say yes, but then they're going to forget because it doesn't live anywhere. If you didn't have this on your calendar every day, you'd forget to come too because you'd schedule something else. So making sure that you send an invite and they accept the invite, that means this became part of their day, week, month, however it is in advance. So how much in advance, if you're doing a dinner, how far in advance you generally give people notice?
I think it's rude to not give 4 weeks notice. And I can't say that we do that every single time. But I think people need time to make sure that their calendar is clear. So I like 4 weeks. If it's a big event, we will typically send a save the date a couple of months out and then follow up with the invitation 4 weeks out. I feel like that's a good cadence. It definitely doesn't happen that way all the time, though. Our team is not perfect. I'm not perfect. Sometimes we fly by the seat of our pants and we're, 2 or 3 weeks out before the invite actually goes out.
Look, in the end, so for everyone that wants to make this systematically, right, send a printed invitation, follow up with a phone call, share how important it is to them, tell them what they're going to get out of the event, send a Google Calendar invite. Now, what I challenge you all to do is in your template, right, if you're buttoning this up and they'll transcribe this recording, there's an email you send in between, a text message reminder the day of. And by the way, guys, when you write this once, you use it over and over and over again. Now, during these dinners, how do you be a connector versus monopolizing the conversation? That's
Are
a
you
good one.
asking this question because you know me so well?
Yes and no.
Well,
You're good. Listen, you're a good connector, but people, what they don't know about you is like, look, you're good with politics and people, and like Gretchen is one of the best people you'll ever meet in your life at understanding how to work a room. I don't know how to work a room, like nowhere
yes,
near.
you do, and I appreciate
No,
that.
I don't. You know what the funny thing is people think that I'm this amazing networker just because I like connecting people. But the truth be told, if you put me in a room with 100 people, I would say at least 80% of them could work the room better than I could, because look, my strategy is not like the normal strategy. I can meet one person and like, I want to meet one person. I can spend my whole night talking to them and like, I'm perfectly content. The idea of going around person to person, it's very actually challenging for me to do. So when you're in a room and everyone knows you, it's easy to monopolize the conversation.
It is. And I want to share one story because I think it's important. So I'm going to take something out of your playbook and tell a story to emphasize the point, because I've never really seen myself as a great connector. I've always seen myself as a really well-connected person, right? And there's a difference in that. And I feel like, every time I do an event, 30 minutes before the event, 30 minutes into the event, I get that pit in my stomach where I'm like, oh my God, is anybody really going to show up? The nerves set in. We just hosted an event on Thursday night at a really high-end jewelry store here in the Triangle. We invited about 50 people. We had about 32 RSVPs. It was a very carefully curated list. We had a watchmaster there who was going to display some really rare and timeless masterpiece watches that people could purchase. There's a bar set up. We passed around hors d'oeuvres. And, I was so nervous. Of course, I have to have a glass of wine because I just have to knock that off. And then by the end of the event, I just took a step back and I looked around the room and I was like, that person's talking to that person and that person's talking to that person. And look at all of these relationships that have been created. And I facilitated every single one of those. So I think the best advice I can give on not monopolizing the conversation and being able to connect people is take a step back from the room. What I typically do is try to position myself in the middle of the room. And that's kind of always my go back to. So anytime I need to exit a conversation or enter a new one, I start in the center of the room. I take a look around, I read it, I figure out who's by themselves, who's not, and I go start chatting with them and just ask a few questions. And then I say, hey, I've got someone you really need to meet. Walk over here with me. I put two of those people together. I start the conversation for them. And then I say, you know what, I'll be right back, excuse me. And I go do the same thing for the next person. So there really is a strategy behind it. And it's fun to see it work. You just have to know, who your people are and who your talkers are and how to get them to engage. And what is just one or two things that you can say that will instantly give those two people or those three people rapport so that they've got a conversation starter. Because that's the hardest part, right? People don't go walk up to people in a party because they don't know what to say. And, they want to say your shirt's pretty or how's the weather or where do you live? And all those are great things. But being able to actually have a little bit deeper of a conversation because someone who knows you and knows the other person figured out what commonalities you have and connected those two things it really makes people so much more comfortable.
Yeah, when we ever connect people, this all the time. Hey, you should talk to blank about blank. You guys should connect over this. And a lot of times I'll connect you, especially with people, but I'll find a social interest that you guys connect on. And that's something that's different. Like my buddy, Ben Moss, everyone wants to meet Ben because he's the national director of sports entertainment. And I tell people all the time, if you want to talk about sports and money and business, Ben will talk to you. But if you really want to build a relationship, if you want to talk about mindfulness, family, being present, he'll really want to talk to you because that's what he cares about. Yeah. Right. So understanding who your people are in the room. Now, this will be my quick plug for CRM. If you don't listen and document, remember my quote on documenting. The sole purpose of documenting anything is so you can make future decisions off of it. So you go to your CRM, you hit log activity. This is how you track your interactions. The notes section is where you put all of those important facts, right? So if I know Gretchen's son started an internship at this amazing boat place where these people that he inspires to shoot these videos of boats and places and everything else, that's a note I need to make. Because when you have to call people, all of you guys have the same, well, what, wait, what do I say? Listen, this is where listening comes into play and actually having discipline. Because in a transaction, how many different things, Gretchen, do these people really tell you about their lives? Because when you walk around a house with somebody, you need to fill the space with something. There's only so much you could talk about the bedrooms, bathrooms, and community.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So all right. So now we're at the dinner. We've talked a little bit about this. When people ask about real estate, how do you make sure that you don't monopolize the real estate conversation, right? Because sometimes people could be waiting, and then they open that door a little bit and you're just like, boom.
Well, sometimes I fail miserably at this, but if they ask me about real estate, I try to give them a really quick, concise answer. And then if they ask a follow-up question, I'll dig in a little bit, but I really try to keep my responses tight. I try to give them factual information. And I just say, listen, I'm happy to have a deeper conversation about this. I'm happy to, make sure that you've got all your questions answered. But I try not to go too deep about real estate because it definitely can turn the entire conversation. And I'm the only one who really knows a lot about real estate at the table. And if I do that, then it kind of messes up the mojo with everybody else. But that topic always comes up. How's the market? Well, the market's really good. Well, I'm hearing that, the market's down 30% and it is in other places. And here's why Raleigh is different. And here's what we're seeing boots on the ground. What are you thinking about doing? Are you thinking about making a move? Are you thinking about investing? And they may give me a nugget. And at that point, I'll say, you know what, I'd love to chat more with you about that. Can I follow up with you next week?
Exactly. And another way to reframe is when people start asking, like, hey, I'd love to I don't want to just give you a general answer. Let me shoot you a message and let's have more of a personalized conversation next week. Remember, the people are there for other things. Now, What I want to do is I want to talk about how you follow up after, and then let's open it up for Q&A, because I'm sure there are lots of great questions in here. Now, what do you do after the event?
So after the event, I personally send either a card or a video text or a text message and just thanking them for coming and just saying, hey, it was great to spend time with you. I loved seeing you connect with ... whoever it was. I hope you had a great time. I understand how valuable your time is, and I really appreciate you choosing to spend it with me. And, I try to always send the follow-up, because that is really an important thing. If somebody gives you your time and they take the time to come to your event, it means a lot. And the reason that they're there is because of the relationship they have with you.
Exactly. And I think handwritten notes is everything. It's funny. Kelly Robinson had written me a note years ago, when I first got to Compass. And I remember keeping this note for 3 years because the note was so personal and thought out. I had a hard time throwing it in the garbage. Right.
Yeah.
So if you look at some of these things, exactly, you probably have a whole drawer.
I have a drawer full of those somewhere over here, though, of the ones I just can't throw out.
Exactly. Right. And so look, invest in yourself. It's the greatest investment you can make. We guys, I'm going to give you my little 2-second commercial here. We all spend way too much time and money on dumb shit. Like seriously, like every human being that exists today, because the way that behavioral psychology and these ads work and these companies are smarter than we are, spend money on dumb shit. Spending money on client relationships will never go bad, because the one thing the internet will never be able to do, AI can't do, you can't change human connection. So when people are like, oh, real estate is going to be taken over by technology. No, real estate is going to be taken over by people that refuse to evolve, change, and double down and invest in the right things. That's why the core 4 is important. That's why the KPIs of money are important. That's when the CRM is important. And that's why this whole obsessing over the client experience is the most important, right? There's the client experience, and then there's strategy on top of your business. And this is
I agree. And I want to say one more thing as well, because I do think it's important when you're thinking about events, not just a dinner, but any sort of event. So to give you a couple of things, like we've done several things. I just told you about the Bailey's event. We did a full client appreciation at a Durham Bulls game, where we had, several hundred people come to watch a game. It was very low key. We've done events at a goat farm, which may sound weird to all you Northerners, but are pretty stinking cute, and they can walk all around and the kids can come, and it's a really cool thing. I really try, when I'm thinking about an event, I try to think about an experience that people may not get to have without me putting it together. So yeah, maybe you take your kid and you go to the goat farm, but you're probably not going to Bailey's and getting a curated collection of watches to look at, or you're probably not getting a suite at the Durham Bulls game. You probably don't even think about going. So I think people long for connectivity, relationships, and experiences. And so if you or someone in your network has a connection to something that's a really cool experience, like one of our wealth managers is a member of an exotic car club here in the Triangle. And that's the next event that I want to get going is, bringing all of our clients. They have over 150 cars that are, exotic, rare. It's such a cool place to go into. So, really trying to focus on those kinds of things that they're really going to enjoy are going to be very beneficial for you.
And don't worry, tomorrow we're going to show you how to send your vendors. We have pre-written emails you could send to get money. And by the way, I'm going to literally stamp this into concrete into your mind today. If the people you're sending business to are not giving you clients or money, go find a new vendor unless they could jump off a bridge and fly and have some unique ability like God. All of these people are very much replaceable. And this whole excuse of, I have so many different people I work with, I can't really choose one. Stop making people rich for a bottle of wine, a dinner, and a thank you card at the end of the year. And maybe that. They need to be all in. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. All right, we have some time here. We have another 5 minutes. Everyone, if anyone has questions for Gretchen, drop it in the chat. And Gretchen, I'll be your Vanna White and I'll ask the questions.
Okay. Boy, isn't this a role reversal?
Exactly. Right. Who has a question?
I can't have explained it that good.
Do you have a budget per year?
Yes, and every year I blow it. But yes, I do. But one of the things that Chirag has helped me with is, again, going to our vendors and having those conversations. We've got some great partnerships with lenders and title who really do a lot for us. But we're really trying to engage the other vendors that we work with, our stagers, our home inspectors, all of those people that we're consistently sending business to who really should want to get in front of our client base. With Chirag's help, I've gotten a lot better at having those conversations with our vendors so that they understand why it's important and what they can get out of it, not just my business.
And by the way, the second part is half these people that show up to these events are mutual clients. So when you're doing a dinner, go find 5 people that your mortgage person did with you and say, hey, I'm going to set up a client dinner. I'll do the invitations. I'll do all the work. I'll co-brand it, but you have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they all have budgets. They all need tax deductions. And if they work at a big company, they have a corporate budget. Don't let them fool you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see. Let's keep going through this through rapid fire. Do you ever work with vendor sponsors that are not real estate related?
No, I haven't done that before. I haven't. Well, actually, yes. Sometimes wealth managers, insurance providers could be great ones. The wealth managers for me are a super duper target. And they have big budgets if you can get the right people in the room. So that would be one. And I haven't done that yet, but that's something that I have in the works. And I'm working on a partnership with someone who's really, really good in that industry. But no, I haven't exploited that.
Here's another one. This is a good one, Janet. I always get paralyzed with who to invite and hurting feelings if I post on social media and someone wasn't invited.
So I totally understand. And for Janet, I think if you're going to do a full client appreciation event, you need to invite all of your past clients and you put those on social media. You know, and like I said, it doesn't matter what the number of people you can have is. Most people are not going to show up. The money is in the invitation itself. It is in the invite. So my team is always stressed out because we can fit 150 people and I invite 300 and then I make them turn back on the registrations when we cap out. And they're always like, oh my God, how are we going to make this work? And it always ends up working out because I'm not going to say no to anybody. For smaller events, I don't typically promote those outside of the people that I'm inviting. So if I'm doing a specially curated dinner, I wouldn't post that invite, but I would post on social that I was having dinner with some of my clients. And here's, you know, I would kind of advertise that. And I do that so that it doesn't hurt people's feelings that they didn't get an invite. But a lot of times if, you know, somebody's in your wheelhouse and you have a relationship with them, you're pretty much going to invite them to everything that you think that they would like. I don't know if you have a different strategy on that, Chirag.
No, the other thing is, look,
here's the other thing. Don't get paralyzed because that is making a decision. When you decide to do nothing because of XYZ, you are making a decision, and done is better than perfect. And I'll tell you, you might hurt somebody's feelings over here, but you're going to get 10 more deals over here because you actually did it.
Yeah, but the other thing is look, the reality is, as I said the other day, that some people have more valuable relationships than others. The idea of not furthering any relationship, like there's a great quote, and Steve Jobs has it. I'll give you my take on it. You've never heard it, and you've heard this before. If you want to make everyone happy, go sell ice cream. And my answer is, well, there's still people that are lactose intolerant. No one will ever be happy, right? Like if ice cream can't make you happy, come on, like let's all be serious. So just keep going forward. Now, the other one is do you formally, I want to do 2 more questions. So if you guys want to hang in a little past 10, that's cool. If it's cool with Gretchen, do you formally introduce your vendors at events?
Like stand up and take the mic and introduce them?
Yeah.
It just depends on the event. If it's a big event, yes, I will say a thank you to the sponsor. Sometimes the sponsor can get up and speak. If it's a smaller event, no, but we do put visuals all over the event saying who the sponsor is. And then I make a concerted effort to make sure that sponsor meets everybody in the room that I think they need to meet or that they want to meet. I think that's a much more personal connection. If it's mandatory that they get to speak, then certainly we'll let them do that. But that's only for bigger events.
Now, here's Abby. I'm going to answer this question. What do you say when you want to be the only person who sponsor? Well, when a lender says that, you could say, I really appreciate that, but that's illegal, right? Like you can't only recommend one person unless you have a legal disclaimer. And I'm not getting into legal things. The second thing is be like, that's really great. What are the special benefits that you provide someone when they're your exclusive partner, and see what they say? What are the special benefits that you provide people that are unique partner? Now, here's another one, just because this is a context. Raise your hand if you have vendors and lenders that contact you all the time that are like, hey, I'm John from ABC Bank. I'd love for you to send work with you and everything else. Do you know how normally, raise your hand if you just tell these people to screw off because you have relationships? Most people. Right? You guys see smiling. Do you know what you say to them? Hey, I'm always looking for great people to work with. If you could send me a client and I could see how you worked, then I'd be happy if it went well to send you clients in the future. By the way, I've been using this lifetime value of a customer thing since I was an agent. I had one lender that sent me close to $1 million worth of clients with those same exact words. And they weren't even mine. An agent that worked for me heard me on the phone, like shut somebody down. She's like, why are you doing it? They'll send you clients. And people that are calling generally have people, they're new, they don't have relationships. Established lenders aren't on the phone cold calling realtors. So if you want to start getting into other people's COIs, find those up and coming lenders that are doing that, right? And if you're not writing this down, you're insane. It is one of the fastest ways to get leads. And ask them too, is your exclusive partner, what are the special benefits I get in having that kind of relationship with you? Better open up their checkbook and wallet. And if they're socially awkward, you might want to think twice. Right? So look, we could be here all day doing this. We'll transcribe this. Gretchen, thank you. If you want more of this, come at 12:30. Her and I will not have the same exact conversation twice. And we're going to do a little bit longer Q&A this time. So Gretchen, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. Listen, tell them where you are, and I'll shamelessly plug you because you're my friend and client. Where can they send all their referrals?
Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you got something out of this. I am in Raleigh, North Carolina. We were in the #1 team with Compass in this market, and we would love to work with you. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. If you guys have questions on events, I am always an open book and happy to answer them. So feel free to reach out.
Yep. And guys, look, make the commitment to do something. We have an event playbook we'll give to you. We have some notes that I took today about coffees, lunches, dinners. We have a lot of stuff around this. And look, if there's one thing that you can do to make a difference after the relationship is done, this is it. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. Happy Monday. And I'll see some of you guys in the next couple of days. Bye, everybody.
Bye.